Is it on go or is it on 3 or is it on 1?
Problematic.
I'm Marquise.
Problematic. Problematic. Look out podcast. Here, Se2 in the building. Problematic.
It's your boy Juju.
Problematic. Look out podcast. Problematic.
Yo, what did my man just say then?
Problematic.
Yo, you're listening to Mr. Rock.
Problematic. Cookout podcast.
Yo, what's up, young chef? Welcome back to the one and only Problematic Cookout, where we bring you the topics that no one wants to discuss and try to find a middle ground. I'm your boy Juju, your host for today, and let me check in with my co-hosts, see what they got to do and what they got to say. Marquise, what you up to, man?
Hey man, we just chilling, literally chilling, man. I don't know if you guys seen the weather lately. It's in the negatives. We are freezing out here, man. It's wild. You know what I mean?
It's been cold. Mr. Rock, how you doing?
You know, same as always, man. Just keeping busy, staying inside, but keeping busy. You know, just trying to stay on my A game.
Yes,
You
my
know,
brother.
with the rest of the crew as we're coming through.
Yeah.
Black
Running
History
raw.
Month and all that. You know.
Yes, sir. Se2, man, Brooklyn, man, how we living?
This snow is just ghetto. All right, that's all I'm gonna say. Leaving it at that. Ghetto.
Oh man, hey, as you see us, we all suited up today. If you're watching us on YouTube, I think that they cranked up the heat in my apartment the last few months because my collar, it's the first time wearing the shirt in a while and my collar's feeling kind of tight, but hey, we're going to deal with it. But we are in Black History Month, a very exciting time for all of us. And we're still in our mini-series where we discuss finding your passion. And for us, as four black men running this podcast, Black History Month and things happening in the black community are obviously very important to us. So we wanted to bring this episode and discuss it and speak about it. But guys, right away, let's do a little round table on your thoughts about Black History Month, what it means, and especially in this environment right now, what it looks like for you guys. Yeah, anybody.
Let one
can
of you
speak,
guys
man.
go
Y'all can
first.
speak up.
I was going first every week, so
I'm
someone
gonna
jump
go
in.
first.
Yeah, come on, Marquise. Let us know what you think.
Actually, I'm gonna tell you all about my introduction into what Black History Month is, or you know what it's all about. So I had just moved to Canada. And I was in my first year or grade 8 in elementary, and February came around and we were having this Black History Month parade, or you know, where they round everybody up in the gym, say a couple speeches, you know, something like that. But being one of the only black people in the school, they had me do the Martin Luther King speech.
What?
I have a dream.
Yeah, so
Yep.
I have no idea what's even going on. They just hit me up and told me, can you do the speech? I'm like, what is this? Like, I don't even know what this is. They're like, yeah, just memorize it and then we'll do it at the assembly. So I ended up basically reading out the speech. I have no idea who I'm even talking about, right? And I only afterwards is when I like kind of looked it up and I was like, oh, actually, Martin Luther King is a great man. He did all these great things to forward, you know, black history and the civil rights movement. But I had no idea who that guy was.
They don't talk
or what he
about
had
the
done.
doctor over in Africa. Oh man.
And that's
Well, that's U.S. history.
It's U.S.
Yeah,
history.
that's
We'll get to that later. Like, I had no idea about any of this stuff. But after that is when I, you know, kind of started learning about how important that history is to the people here, right? Even though technically it's not my history, it's not where I'm from. It's where our people here are how they came up and what they went through, right? And that's why it's important for us to learn it now, even though I'm learning it now at an older age. It was never really in me. It's important for us to see what actually happened to the people here, understand what happened, see what great things our people did. So, you know, as we look to the future, we don't see that, you know, the barriers are there, but, you know, we're making moves, we're making strides regardless of that. So that's just a little background of what Black History means to
He's
me.
like fresh into it, guys. Fresh into it. It's okay, Marquise. We're gonna educate you this episode. All right?
Now, Sido, what are your thoughts on that, man?
Yeah, Black History Month is an absolute necessity. Growing up as a U.S. citizen, what kind of sucks. So my upbringing, I started off in private school and then I went to public school. And in public school, it was just the same old, same old. You got your Harriet Tubman, you got your Martin Luther King Jr., you have your Malcolm X, and like maybe 2-3 other Black historical figures that they talk about during Black History Month. But you know, you get classes, and you know that kind of just gets pushed to the wayside because you're knee deep in some math or a foreign language or something like that, and you know a lot of the focus kind of gets screwed over or overtaken because you know you're just trying to live your life as a teen, and every month they're just like kind of throwing this into you. But I think the biggest factor for me was when I actually was in college. I was part of a group called the Black Male Initiative. Shout out CUNY BMI, where every single day we could talk about a different Black person that did something dope back in the day. So like in this office, if you guys are ever able to come to my old school where I got my associate's degree, this room has nothing but Black historical figures, and you just see a bunch of names that you've never seen before. Things like the former CEO of McDonald's, Black guy, didn't know that. You know, Ben Carson before he joined the Trump presidency, and we had a lot more respect for him. But yeah, all the walls had Black historical figures, and that's when I did most of my learning through that program. So it's very key to look at history, because otherwise we get caught up in all the other education that we do that we don't even understand what contribution Black people had to the U.S. So very, very important to be highlighted.
Yeah, Mr. Rock,
Black History Month. It's different being in North America, right? Because in the UK, it's in October.
Yeah.
So I get a chance to have it twice a year. It's like having two Christmases in a sense.
You would go to London in October then.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Just quick question, Rock. Like before you go into it, do you know why it's in October in the UK?
There is some background behind it, but I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. And I know here they were talking about changing the date. I know I was speaking to some historian guy who knows a lot about history and was trying to talk about different dates. But anyway, I'm going off track. But you know, growing up as a young British Black male, you know, Black history wasn't really something that was celebrated in the sense of like Black History Month. We didn't really know about Black History Month. You know, it wasn't celebrated. It wasn't really spoken about. We didn't really hear about it in schools. You know, you heard here or there from, you know, friends and family about who contributed to society, Black society and so on. So for me, I started to get connected more to the US, America in terms of their history, because it was more dominant visually, to see what was going on and, you know, aligned to something because, you know, you were from the same background historically and so on. But in the UK, it was very different. And it's only over, I'll probably say the last 10 years, 15 years, it's becoming more and more of a, you know, upfront date or month of the year. So, you know, now it's in a position where more people are understanding what it is, what it's about, what we're celebrating, and you know what the impact of Black History Month is for, you know, not just the older people, not just the people outside of the you know, Black culture, but you know, people inside it as well, especially the young people that are growing up and, you know, trying to assign themselves towards someone or something in society that they can be, you know, positively impacted by. So yeah, it's interesting how it's developing.
No, for sure, 100%. And I mean, I think that we're going to talk about this at the end as well, but I think that this episode would be boring without a little controversy. So let me introduce, because I think that on my end, when you come to Black History Month, it's a little twofold for me, because I look at it and like what exactly is Black history? Because like Marquis said at the beginning, his history in Kenya isn't really embodied right in Black History Month, but Marquis still Black. I'm from Cameroon. My history isn't really about. So if we want to speak about African American or Black history in the U.S., I totally get that, and I think that it is important to speak about, and I think that it is important to acknowledge that Black people have gone through very different things than let's say maybe white people, but I don't know exactly if having 1 month for it is really the answer. I think that it should be talked about every day. It should be talked about all year long. It should just be embodied in the U.S. history. So like I said, I wanted to introduce a little bit of controversy because we were talking earlier about, and there's a lot of people, because I know that you got caught up by the headline and saying that there's a Black Republican candidate that said that Black History Month should be abolished. And I want to know you guys' thoughts, but it isn't like a Republican thing. It's more of a, there's a lot of Black people on both sides that have come out and talked about that. People like Morgan Freeman has spoken about it, Daryl Davis. There's been a lot of people that have spoken about that, but want to hear your thoughts on that before we go. Like, I know that's a little off topic, but before we go to the next segment.
So, all right, like you said, Detroit GOP mayor, Michigan GOP. My bad. I thought it was Detroit. Yeah, Michigan GOP candidate wants to cancel Black History Month. He wants to call it. He wants to change it to. What does it say here? All American History Month. He wants to cancel it in Michigan altogether. And
there you go.
I'm very against it, only because every time there is a movement and the way you bring up awareness to that movement, they usually declare it a month. Every month of the year there's some other thing. Like October in the US is like Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Next month, March, is Women's History Month. Probably gonna do a podcast episode about that. And all it's trying to do is highlight what needs to be said about the movement. If you take that away and you just make it American History Month, what will happen is what happens time and time again. All the contributions that Black people have historically contributed, they will be cast by the wayside and overtaken by the majority's accomplishments. But some of the accomplishments that have been done and made possible through the works of Black people should be recognized. But the textbooks and history books and stuff like that have a way of, writing around what really happened. Things like Jack Daniels. I'm always told that Jack Daniels had he was the son of a slave owner. One of the slave owners made the recipe. He got cast aside. No one knows who. Well, some people know who the slave is. I didn't do enough research on that, but it's things like that'll continue to happen over and over again if you just erase Black History Month. Yeah, I just want to reiterate that this is a Black man, this Democratic this GOP candidate in Michigan. I would agree with you, but I think that it's important not to get lost in the message of what some of these people are actually saying, and to cast our own message, because a lot of it often has to do with Black History Month. Black history, should be celebrated. I think that is very important, but I think that it should be celebrated with everything else. I think that it should be celebrated all year long, and I've heard some interesting things of people talking about. It is kind of a time where you give us 28 days. And if you learn about the history of Black History Month, right, in 1916, I'm really sorry, but I can't remember the name of the man who decided that there should be a Black History Week. And George Washington. Because like it just wasn't taught in school, right? It wasn't taught
Like it just wasn't normal to talk. Like if they wanted to teach it, it wouldn't be an option. So he wanted to come up with a week to speak about the accomplishments of Black people. And in the 50s, they decided to start rallying because they didn't think that a week was enough.
Dr.
Now,
Carter.
a lot of people are.
Sorry.
Go ahead. What's that?
It was Dr. Carter G. Woodson. Is that who you're talking about?
In 1916.
Yeah,
I
well,
believe that was his name.
1960 or 1926, something like that.
Mr.
Yeah.
Rock with the facts. Damn.
Yeah.
All right.
So exactly. So he's the one that started Black History Week, and in the 50s, people protested because they didn't think that a week was enough. So the reason it was in February, because I've also heard people make the argument like, "Oh, they gave us the shortest month.
Yeah,
no
I
one
think
gave
as well.
us that month. That's the month that we took, and
Yeah.
it was because that was."
That was like the most accomplishments from Black
Well, it
people
was
or something
Abraham
like that.
Lincoln's and Frederick Douglass' birthdays, and George Washington. Their birthday was all in February, so that's why they decided to have the time in February. So it was a Black people decided that. We took control of that. So now, if we fast forward it, I feel like what it has become today, we can't teach it in school. We can't teach it. We can't have it part of history, and it should be. It should be part of everyday history. We should be teaching, because now we take 28 days out of the year where we speak about the same people all over, right? Everybody knows about Rosa Parks, about Harriet Tubman, about Dr. Martin Luther King, and people like that. But then everybody else, because we don't have enough time, kind of get casted to the side, and then we go about the rest of the year and we talk about white history and which is every day, every other 11 months of the year, and then we come back to February next year and then we speak about the same people all over again. Obviously, we're going to do something a little different here, but that's why we should have a push to have Black history as part of history and not just as have 1 month. That's a little bit of the argument. I'm not saying I'm not ready to let go of Black History Month, but I'm just playing devil's advocate here and talking about what argument they're trying to make.
My bad, Rock. Go.
Sorry,
Go for it.
I think it's good to have a month. This specific month. So you look forward to. You can prep. You can plan. You can put things in place, and you can prepare yourself to educate others. If we did it all year round, it should be an all year round thing anyway, as we're suggesting.
Yeah.
But having a month, it allows organizations, schools, all different types of environments to prepare to actually, put forward some educational structured content. And yes, we tend to see the yearly names come up. But I think nowadays with social media and, the way we're advancing with our technology and sharing information, we're now at a point where we can actually start highlighting more people during these times. So once you've heard of Dr. Martin Luther King and Malcolm X one year, you learn enough from that, and the next year you learn some more, and throughout the year you can still focus on that person. And then the following year you're bringing someone else new into it. So 10 years down the line, even if you focused on 10 people each year, now 100 historians. Now you've had a chance to have a year where you can dig in, you can do your research, you can read some books related to that person. So when it comes around to the following year for that month, you move on to the next historian. And I think it's important to have the month, because if we turn it into a year, trust me, it just gets watered down, because there's no real significance to relate to a specific time.
But
it's like doing taxes. You don't do taxes all year. You do taxes in a particular part of the year because everyone knows they're focused and need to get it in.
Let me just jump in here.
I'll jump in after.
Yeah, my bad, Sid. I jumped ahead of the line.
Go ahead.
So my opinion on that, on exactly what Rock just said, is that this should be like a gateway. That's why we should have a month for it. This should be like a gateway to funnel people into understanding what happened. And there's more of this out there. And I think that's why they focus on the main characters or the main influencers, because that's kind of what draws you in. And then after you're in, that's when you kind of just like, okay, now I want to see what other Black people did in history.
Yeah.
And I think it's good, because for me, that's how I got dragged in.
Yeah.
I got through and ran into the month, and I was like, yeah, what's all this? and then the rest from there is up to me to figure out what the hell's going on,
Honestly, I think Black History Month favors, it works better in favor of the majority rather than for black people. Because black people, apart from Marquise, if you're black in North America, you probably talk about black history quite often. Like either one hot thing will happen that a black person did, you're probably consistently talking about it. Black History Month for me, every year through the advent of social media, ever since sharing all this data came public, I'm always finding out either a new person or something different that happened during the civil rights movement, and that gets highlighted. So I always feel like I get something out of the month every year it happens. To take it away, like Rock was saying, it would get watered down. And if you every day of the year, well, not every day of the year, but if you're just saying, oh, look at this, what this person accomplished throughout the year, that might fall on deaf ears in terms of the majority. Whereas where we have this whole month, it's like, oh, look, we did that thing. The person that helped Einstein and his light bulb, who created filament, black dude. Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, well, it's like it's easier to kind of consume it when you know that's what the content's coming at you for during that month. So
do you think like that white history is getting watered down?
No.
Nah.
So why then would black history get watered down if we just taught it as part of normal? If it was just part of history, if that was just history, right? Like, so we could learn about the person who invented the traffic light, who was black, the person that invented the ironing board, which was black, that I didn't know until I found out about it today, So those are the people that often, but there's not a single person that doesn't know who invented the light bulb or that doesn't know who Henry Ford is, So those are the things that everyone knows, like the accomplishments of white people. They're there every single day because they're just part of history. Yeah. But if you just reduce it to a month, there's only so much that you can learn in a month, and then every year you're learning a little bit more. But that should be a 12-month thing.
True, but black people aren't everywhere, so it's like it's not that because black people aren't everywhere. There's definitely a lot of pockets of North America, at least, where there's, the whole population is predominantly black. I mean, white. It's probably like 1-2%.
They should still learn it, though.
And they should still learn it. But are you going to tell a white teacher to teach Black History Month if there's no Black History Month? Like, why would a white teacher want to teach predominantly white students more about Black history?
If it was just part of history, that's just history.
I mean, it should, but they could technically just omit that, and there'd be nobody to enforce them to teach the Black history.
Here's a point to put to that. Like, if you think about it in terms of how much you know about other cultures other than our own, yeah, and it can be very minimal. We are visually black, right? If I ask you about your culture, Marquise, if I ask you about your culture, Juju, you're going to be able to give me a lot more than I actually know. Yeah, but that's me having to come to you and say, like, well, I know you're from here, give me some information, because we are one alike, and my ancestors came from Africa, where the countries where you guys originally born. Yeah, so then I already have that ability to want to know more about who you are, right? How many other cultures or ethnicities do we all know about? Because there's so many around the world that you would see somebody walking, you wouldn't even know where they're from. You'd think, oh, that's an Asian person, or that's someone from a particular region. But how much more do you know about those people? If they had a specific day, like there's certain times of the year where there's certain days that relate to like Chinese New Year, things like that.
I'm just thinking that
you then get an ability to have a time where you can learn about this culture. Without Chinese New Year, guaranteed, unless you know a Chinese person or you're in a Chinese environment, you're not going to take the time to go and find out about it unless you work with that person or you have some type of relationship. But once it's advertised and put there for you to go take a piece of it and understand it, then you then start thinking more deeply about what Chinese culture is and what it's about, and then communicating with the people and things like that. But without that, it can be a blocker for you to even even ask questions to a Chinese person about, oh, I know about this. Can you tell me more? Do you know what I mean? So without having a specific, like
I would
us
say
having
yes or
Black
no.
History Month, then it can reduce the ability for people that don't know any black people to even want to even come and sit down and listen and talk to any black people.
Yeah, I would say yes and no. Like, I agree with what you're saying, and I definitely think that a celebration should still be there. The aspect of, for me, Black History Month, it kind of reduces Black history to only a month, and that's a little bit where I guess take a concern. But I would, I would agree that this definitely poses for conversation. It opens up the door for conversation, but I wouldn't necessarily see. I think that the Chinese New Year example is a little anecdotal, because I think that for myself, I wouldn't necessarily say that the only reason I take interest in the Chinese culture is because of Chinese New Year. But there's definitely some people that's the case for,
There's
and I
the
get
gateway, right?
for some people, right? But for
Yeah.
myself, I'm really into Latin culture, and I really enjoy it, but it isn't because Cinco de Mayo, right? So it's just to say that, like, those things are a little anecdotal, and I don't think that there's a bunch of white people that are like, oh, well, I'm not going to look into Black History Month, but now that there's a Black History, but now that there's a Black History Month, now I have to do it, therefore I'm going to do it.
You don't think there's so many people out there that do think like that?
Well, I definitely think,
if
I
you look
definitely
at
think that there's people like that. There's definitely people
Oh.
like that, but I think that there's it's not that every single person wouldn't look into it at all, but now because there's a Black History Month, they do. I think that there's still people that are like, I still don't care. You can put a Black History Month to it or not.
Yeah,
And
but
there's people that would genuinely all year long just ask me about my culture no matter what.
But then, okay, so asking you about your culture, where in a month having certain events that people can tune into, you can log into this and you can learn about this, or you can be a part of a group that are learning about something, or doing something in the community or whatnot, and it just allows them to feel. I guess sometimes you need to make people feel a bit more comfortable, and enabling them to feel comfortable is for them to have a little bit of understanding about the environment that they're about to approach or about to get into. And this is a gateway. It's a door to open. And during that month, it's like the doors open and black people saying, come in.
Yeah.
Come in. We want to show you, we want to talk to you, we want to share with you, our history and what we're doing presently and what we're looking for in the future. But to have your door open all day, people will walk past, knowing that it's open, I can go in there anytime, but I ain't got the time right now.
Just don't try to touch our hair, all right? Just
Or mess my hairline up. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like that. That's fine. Like, I think that it can still happen, like at different times. But I want to speak to some of these black figures, like in question, because like we mentioned, we always hear about the same ones over and over again. But anyone that you guys think about, and as you guys are doing your own research, obviously we're all very passionate about the black community. Who are some of the people that you guys are really enjoying and that you guys really look up to and are inspiring to you guys?
Okay, so I'll start us off again.
Let's hit it off, Marquise.
Set it off again. It's my episode. I'm gonna set the scene for this one. It's 2009.
It's 2009.
One of the what I'm just setting the scene, bro. It's one of the biggest grossing films ever drops in 2009. Do you guys remember what that movie was?
Inception?
No.
Damn.
It was huge. It was like a whole 2-3 hour movie.
Avatar?
Pretty much, yes.
Ah, okay.
That was actually one of the first movies I ever saw in theater.
David Cameron, right?
Yes, but the experience of watching that movie in 3D was amazing. That was my first time ever watching a movie in 3D, seeing all the effects like coming out to your face. Like that stuff was crazy. So that technology is great. Like, now we have 3D TVs, we have all this stuff going on. But in my research, actually looking up at who actually made or came up with the idea of 3D glasses was actually a black man, a black man named, what's his name here? He was,
You gotta do more homework, Marquise. Come on.
Yeah, he really looked up to the person too.
It's Kenneth Dunkley, bro. I looked at in my research last night. I came across this. His name is Kenneth Dunkley.
Okay.
And he came up with the idea and patented basically 3D glasses. And the effect of that is now we actually able to enjoy more, enjoy our videos, video games, TV, movies in 3D, right? And this all came from the idea of a black physicist. And the impact in the world today is huge, right? Because you want to go get that experience. This is something you enjoy to do, to go to the movies. I feel like an impact like that from a black man is great.
Yeah, very powerful. All right.
So
Yeah.
I'm gonna go next. I'm too hyped.
Go ahead,
All
Sido. Let us know.
Go.
right. So I'm gonna paint a picture. It's the 70s. Gaming consoles had just started. The only games back then were like Pong, Pac-Man, maybe Gattaca. I don't even know if I said that game right. However, there was a black engineer who worked at an electronics company, Fairchild. He created this console and put it up against the Atari 2600 called the Fairchild Channel F gaming console. He was the lead engineer on the team that created this Channel F gaming console. And his name is Jerry Lawson. This man revolutionized the gaming industry with this Channel F gaming console. Here's why this contribution is really important. Like I said, this console went up against the Atari 2600. The company that Lawson worked at was trying to get into the gaming industry. They put a whole bunch of pressure, impossible tasks, like, hey, make us a gaming console. And what his contribution was, while leading the team to create that, was creating multiple cartridges and putting games on multiple cartridges and using the same system to play a different or infinite amount of games as long as you switch the cartridge out. There would be no Sega Genesis, no Nintendo, no the Atari that came out after the 2600. None of those games would exist with the idea of putting the data of a game on some kind of medium and using the system to play all of them, right? Mm-hmm. This is so important. If this never happened, you would have to buy the Activision Call of Duty machine and have like 5 Call of Duty games on there doing the same things. You probably spent like $300-$400 on it, and you can only play Warzone, Black Ops, or whatever the current Call of Duty is. You can only play those. If you want to play Madden, you got to get the Madden machine. If you want to play, some Final Fantasy, you got to get the Final Fantasy machine. Because the Atari 2600 only had like 5 or 6 games, and they were baked into the console. Like those games were one and the same. So with him creating the cartridge system, Atari was able to adopt that system and revolutionize how the gaming industry is today. He also created the pause feature. His system was the first system with pause. And that's very important because, when you got to drain the tank real quick, imagine playing Call of Duty and you're like, I got to go use the bathroom. And you just getting shot up and you keep losing, you get frustrated, right? So
yeah.
Pause button, cartridges, and, he did a lot of work encouraging future engineers. When he's growing up, he grew up in Queens, New York. His mom had a picture of George Washington Carver in his room and always kept telling him, you can be the next George Washington Carver. And he really stuck with that. And he became Jerry Lawson. And ever since then, through public speaking and through mentoring, he's helped plenty of black engineers get into the gaming industry, engineering, and stuff like that. And he's been in clubs with like Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs. So this guy really knew his stuff. He died in 2011, but Jerry Lawson, look him up. He literally revolutionized the gaming industry that we know and play games from today.
It's amazing beyond, and sorry, Rock, like I want to hear from you as well, but like it's amazing beyond the invention of of him being black. How many things we take for granted today that like were invented by someone that revolutionized that. At that point, people were probably like, dude, no one needs this.
Yeah.
But now, like, imagine, playing a game without that and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's so amazing to see the piece, the part that black people had to play in this over.
Yeah,
history.
everyone
But-
was telling him that he couldn't do it because the main thing was like you couldn't put a microprocessor into a console, and he was just like, "Nah, I'm gonna do that," and he did that and changed the game completely.
Yeah, Mr. Rock, how about you?
Cool,
Who-
cool.
Somebody you look up to?
All right, someone historian. Well, is still here, so he's writing his history as we breathe right now. So this guy that I have over my right shoulder, Dwayne Edwards. Any of you heard of Dwayne before?
I haven't. Let me
No.
look him
Okay.
up.
So really interesting. So this black man designed some of your favorite Jordans, and is now teaching design footwear.
Oh,
Yeah. So at 12 years old, Edwards envisioned becoming a footwear designer. And at the age of 19, he became the youngest footwear designer in the industry. Yeah. I was born in Inglewood, California in the 80s. Fell in love with design. Always wanted to be a designer. And had dreams of becoming a footwear designer. And now he's in this industry over 20 years now. Okay, so his journey, like when he finished high school, went straight into a job, just working at a temp agency. Off the back of that, he learned some skills, moved into another company called LA Gear. Don't know if any of you
I know
about
LA
LA Gear. Yeah,
that's
in
the
90s.
sneaker that everyone makes fun of you if you have it and you broke.
Yeah, but at one point, LA Gear with the lights.
Yeah, they
was
did
cold.
have the light up shoes. Yeah,
It
you
was
were
cold.
the hot stuff, but after that, you got dunked on.
Yeah,
But I remember that it was that and like Shaq that was in the same category when I was coming up.
Downtowns.
yeah, man. So he got to work at LA Gear. Was there for a while. Was working on the accounting side of things, and then one day one of the bosses, opened up a box for suggestions, so people could come in, just put suggestions on how to make things better with the company or any improvements. And what he decided to do was design a sneaker every day for 180 days and put it into the box. Yeah, so it was in the face of the managers and the high level bosses. After 6 months, they pulled him aside and asked him why was he designing and putting these in the box. He thought he was going to get in trouble in the beginning, but found out they were really interested in what he was doing. So he got on board and was working alongside one of the big bosses there, but that boss decided to move out and start his own brand. And that brand was Skechers.
Okay.
Not the coolest brand that we know about
I was
today,
hoping he was gonna say Nike, man.
Bro, you tripping.
but
You tripping. Skechers icy, bro.
what trying to tell you some
bro.
more information. So Skechers worked alongside two of the biggest brands of the 90s and early 2000s, which was Karl Kani and Cross Colors. So they did a lot of the work in the background just to enable those companies to actually, go out and create product and get it out there. So he went alongside with this guy and, worked with the brand and was developing and designing. Got a chance to work with people like Biggie and Tupac. And then after a while, he started to explore different areas of, how he could get further into the industry, culture-wise, and was able to get a job at Nike in Oregon. So he moved out there, worked with Nike for a year. As I said, he was 19, the youngest employee designer at Nike, was one of two black designers that were working in the industry at that time. So that was, it was a really, really big thing. After a year, he moved to work with Jordan Brand. And off the back of that, he stayed there for 11 years, was inspirational in that, did lots of design stuff. Two of the designs that he created were the Jordan 21 and the Jordan 22. Okay, most of us don't know about that. We always know about Tinker Hatfield, Tinker. And And there's so many other people that were related to the design of the Jordans that we know and love today. So off the back of that, he really wanted to get back to a position where he was enabling young people of color to get into the industry. Back then, he went from working with Jordan brand that were worth 230 million, and in the 11 years that it was there, it went up to $1.3 billion. So in that time, he was creating content, designing, working with different people, and he just saw that there was a hole in the market where the brand was always promoting and marketing to people of color, getting all the culture and selling to inside the culture and outside of the culture, but really didn't employ anybody from the culture, people that looked like the brand. Yep. So he decided that he was going to start his own art school. So he started an art school academy called Pensole. I think that was in 2001. I need to double check that, or 2011. So today what he's doing, he's allowing people to come in and, work with them to develop their design skills, work on projects. And off the back of that, now he is like an agency for all these companies like Nike, Adidas, and all these other brands. If they're looking for someone to bring it into their company, one of the first places that they'll go is to him. So he's opened up the door so wide for, people of color to get into the back room, into the nitty gritty, the actual real design and making the choices as to what should be done and when it should be done. So, yeah, I just want to raise my hat, salute to one of the biggest people to impact the industry. And I got so much respect for him. So, Dwayne Edwards.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Awesome.
I want to preface my. I think I got like Frederick Douglass' name wrong earlier, but I want to rectify. I do know who Frederick Douglass is, and I do know my history. So if I did get that wrong, in fact, don't hate on me. Don't come. People probably came at my neck already.
Fact check them in the comments.
Yeah, exactly. It's already done. But this being said, for my sake, I think that the more I'm researching and the more I'm finding out about Black history, the more I'm finding out, and the narrative that I really want to come out of it is this idea of resiliency and overcoming really terrible things that have been inflicted to them and that have happened to them. And I think that, yes, we can look at the kind of the postmodern world and what has happened there, but even in some of those days of whether it was slavery or Jim Crow area or before the civil rights war, I think that there are some people that have done some great things, and I'm finding more like if you look at New Orleans, which held one of the largest population of free Black people in the late 1700s and early 1800s. Although they weren't allowed to vote, they were still very prosperous economically. They held over 2 million of property, and they dominated crafts like bricklaying, cigar making, carpentry, and shoemaking. And one of the most notorious small business owner at the moment was Cece Mccarthy, who owned multiple grocery stores, and he inherited of $12,000. I wasn't able to confirm from where exactly, but turned that into $155,000 at the time of his death in 1845. So just an idea of in today's dollar. I didn't do the math, sorry, of how much that would be worth in today's dollar, but that's a decent amount of wealth that he was able to amass in that time, and to think about all the challenges and the obstacles that he had to overcome in order to do that. For me, that really speaks to the resiliency and the strength of the Black community as a whole, and that's the message that I want to take with me as I continue to move forward in my life. But who are we? There also are some people that are going to rewrite history. I think about the reason for me, Barack Obama means so much is that I remember in 2008 when that happened, for me looking up and being like, there really isn't a thing in this world that I cannot do as a black man, right? Like, I think that he is going to be a big part of history, whether you like him or not, because of what he means to the black community. As far as there isn't a single thing, right? Like we can be president of the United States. Like literally, there's not a single thing you cannot do in this world today. But who are some of the other black figures? And I can, I kind of want to hear from you guys. We kind of went back to a less conversational and more of each sharing the things that mean a lot. But who are some of the black figures that you guys see today are going to rewrite history, and why do you feel that way?
Ice Cube. let me throw with that. Let me jump in straight away.
I love that. Go ahead.
Yeah, for a historian, like people might see him as he's an actor, he's an entertainer, but the amount of work that he's done over his life is phenomenal. Like the things that he's been teaching people through music, through entertainment, looking forward to where black people will be in the future. Working with teams of people to put together documents to, put in front of the government. And I think now, I've always been a person that grew up on Ice Cube's music and his literature. And it's one of those things that I wouldn't be the person I am today without having that person to listen to. And I think he's impacted so many people of my generation, and has opened so many doors for people to say, like, okay, I may be, seen as gangster, but I can go ahead and make films like Are We There Yet? Next Friday. All those films that, instead of being stuck in this box, I can extend out of that.
Films, yeah. Even
to the point now where he's doing the big 3. He's able to, take that step to go against the grain and bring some of these old school, these people that have retired from the NBA, but now still have juice to come and play and entertain people. And a black man has stood up and said, let's create our own league with our own people, instead of, just having it just as one stream of revenue going over here. Let's build this and expand it. And, that will sing and shout to other people that, think about trying something new and, bringing forward a different way of thinking. And there's so many different things about this man that I look up to, from the fact that he's a father, he's been married for, 20, 30 years. He has his kids, he lives with his kids, he's growing them, he's teaching them the right way. These kids are growing and are all now productive members of society. That's a person that you can really look up to and, take some, you don't have to do everything that he does, but look at some of the things that he is doing and, relate them to your life and move forward. So for me, I had to, and anybody that knows me knows I'm a diehard Ice Cube fan. Yay.
For sure.
Man, I think me and Rock were going down the same path here, because as passionate as Rock is about Ice Cube, I have someone that I'm very passionate about. I'm sure Juju,
Lil Pump.
Nipsey Hussle is one of my main influences. Like he got me through a lot of tough times. Listening to his music. The marathon continues.
I really thought you were talking about Lil Pump, man.
Nah, man, we gotta get that wax stuff out of here.
You're such a pretty. Stop.
So the reason why I brought that up is because if we're looking at the black figures that are rewriting our history right now, a lot of the people are looking up to black entertainers, black celebrities. The rise of Instagram. Who are you following? You're probably following Kevin Hart or any of these, prominent black people. The reason why I picked Nipsey Hussle is because 2 episodes ago, we spoke about your situation is not your fault, but what you do about it is on you, essentially, right? Nipsey came out of a tough situation. His upbringing was tough. He found a way out, started rapping, did his thing, made his money. But the point, his life tipped over to another stage where now he decided to build up his community instead. Like he could have gone on his own. He could have done his own thing, left the hood and made his money.
Lost and drive, man.
Exactly. And I remember when me and Juju went down there, it was a milestone for me. I had to go see where all this stuff started. But he was really investing in his community, and I think he basically put a blueprint of what our Black influencers should be doing. Right, go back to where you're from, build up the youth. One of the things not many people know about this was he was actually empowering the youth to enter STEM programs. Yeah, so
Yep.
It's things like that where you're trying to make things better for the people from your disadvantaged community. They can learn about what STEM even is. Yep. Get them on the path to success. And I'm sure he had done a lot of amazing things in this short life. But I just feel like for Black people now who are in a position of power and in a position to open up these opportunities for the less fortunate or less disadvantaged individuals, this is the path we should be taking. If we make it, we should be opening the door for other Black, and not even just Black people. You literally could just be anybody. For sure. Right? Yeah. So that's one of my role models.
Because a lot of the people, like a lot of the entertainers that are now coming out and that are going back to their community, that are going back, a lot of them took that inspiration from Nipsey. So it is truly, generational, like changing, because before entertainers, they wanted to just get out. That was their goal. It was like, I want to go to Beverly Hills. I want to go to Atlanta, Atlanta and these places. But now they're like, nah, we're coming back and we're investing and things like that. But yeah. Siddle, your thoughts,
man.
Yeah. So my trailblazer for the Black community is Stacy Abrams. If you're not familiar with Stacy Abrams, she is probably one of the main reasons that Joe Biden won the presidency in 2020. Basically, she is a governor for Georgia, and what happens a lot in the U.S. is that minorities face a lot of voter suppression that, kind of skews the numbers in a particular direction, right? And as a result, Stacy Abrams, she ran for governor of Georgia. Sorry, someone fact check me. She's in the Georgia House of Representatives. She's not a governor. She tried to run for governor.
Yeah, in 2018 she lost.
In 2018 she lost, and she came to find out that basically the person she was running against was kind of withholding all the registrations to vote and just delaying it. So all the votes that she should have gotten actually didn't count because those people technically were not registered to vote. And so she did a real good job of getting people registered to vote correctly, using mail-in ballots and things of that nature to make sure all their votes counted and they were all registered well ahead of the election in 2020. And if you guys look at the votes and how it worked for each state, Georgia was one of those states. And in the early hours of that day on November, Georgia was red. And by the end of the night, when the votes got counted, and the next day when the mail-in ballots got counted, it flipped blue. And all those votes came from minority counties and towns that are usually suppressed in voting, whether it's like they only have one place to vote, or they don't have a particular ID because they live in a project or something like that to even be eligible to vote. She broke down those barriers to let the people vote. And the next 4 years that happens in America is a direct result of the work Stacy Abrams has done in Georgia. So kudos to you, Stacy. Good work, and she did a good job of having the minority voice count.
Salute.
So
Yeah, I would say for myself, like I look up to a lot of if you think about the CEOs, like I often hear this message of, well, it's so hard for black people to get jobs because people in power are white people. And when I look at it, I'm like, I see a lot of CEOs all around the world. Three of them that come to mind that I've heard speak last year. Here in Canada are Dennis Mitchell, who's the CEO of Starlight Capital, who's an investment firm here in Canada. Kevin Johnson, who's the CEO of Mediacom Canada, and Jessica Yamoa, who's the founder of Innovate here in Canada. So those are three people that I really look up to. That when I look at those things, I don't really see them as outliers, even though they are in minority at the moment. I really see them as a possibility. I see them. I think about people like Ursula Burns in the U.S. There's Fortune 500 CEOs that are black in the U.S. When I see those people, I see them as like a true representation of the fact that I can get there one day. That race isn't going to be the thing that holds me back from being there, and it's going to be my own. My own responsibilities and my own work and my decisions that are going to take me there. But where do you see, we've been speaking for a while, where do you see black, history going, or not black history, but the black community going? Where are we now and where are we headed? How do we get there? What do you guys think? Rock, I'll start with you.
Education. Reading them books. Remember that line, the best place to hide something from a black person was put it in a book. To pick up the book. Start there, man. Because, you can get books for free. You can get them half price. You can buy pre-owned ones. You can borrow books. There's no excuse for not reading. Yeah. Even if you don't want to read, you can watch YouTube.
I was gonna say, get the
and listen to a book.
Yep.
Listen to a whole book. Any book that you want is on YouTube. Someone's got it narrating it.
Yep.
So you have no excuse not to educate yourself in anything that you want to do. You can do it as long as you have internet connection. If you don't have it, I'm sure one of your friends have it. I'm sure one of your aunts or your uncles or someone has it. If not, then jump onto someone's Wi-Fi and stand outside their house and stream it from there.
Seriously,
whatever you need to do to get that education. And it's not just learning just about, black history as well. You need to be able to, look at things from outside of your box, because you need to see how other things work, how other environments work, how other ethnicities do what they're doing, because you're going to have to do business with them at some point if you want to elevate. And understanding someone else's culture, opens that door to that handshake for you to have those discussions and then build something off it. Because if you don't know, then it's kind of hard for you to build any relationship because you haven't paid any attention to someone else's culture. So education is key, and just be open to different ethnicities and communities. And that's me.
But I'm gonna build on that actually a little bit. I think
I love that, by the way. Sorry for the tardiness, but I love that, Rob.
Thanks, man. Respect, bro.
So how I'm feeling, how I feel the black community should move forward is we need to actually start helping each other. Right. We need to start having an environment where we're actually sharing information as opposed to keeping it for yourself. Like if you know a pathway of, how things work, how to get a job, how to do this, how to do that, we need to start sharing it with other people in the community who would not be able to, have that kind of knowledge. It'll help prop other people as well. You're helping yourself because, you're kind of carrying it forward. You got helped in some way to achieve whatever you've achieved. We need to pass that on to other people in our community. For example, like in my community where I come from, coming from our part of the world to Canada is a whole feat, right? It's very hard. It's not that easy. But there's people who know how to work that system and how to make things work. So we have to share that information with other people so that they can also have an opportunity to have a better life, or make better decisions here in Canada. So if we apply that to the Black community as a whole, I feel like that'll be beneficial for all of us. And I'm not saying that we're just keeping it to ourselves because we're Black. It's just that, we need to help others succeed if we're in a position to help others succeed. So,
yep. Yeah. Let me hop in there. So I'm really hoping that as a group of people, we could get our finances and our money up. That's my big thing. I'm all about supporting Black business and stuff like that, but I don't mean necessarily like that. I think when someone does us wrong, we should be able to financially hurt their pockets in a way that makes them regret what they've done, and ensures that people don't do it again later on in the future. What do I mean by this? Examples, and I touched on this in season 1, but it's just something that really vibes with me. I want all of us to have our money correct, so that way no one can do harm to us financially, but we can also do financial harm to other people. Washington Redskins football team, they are now just the Washington football team. Why? Because someone found Redskins was an inappropriate logo. For years, they were like, we're never going to change it. We're never going to change it. And what happened? A sponsor was just like, yo, you guys got to change it or we're not going to sponsor you anymore. And they couldn't even come up with a replacement name and logo. They are now just the Washington football team. Back in the day, Jay-Z, Dame Dash used to drink Cristal left and right. Owner of Cristal said something racist, wild racist. And Jay-Z just told the whole Black community, never buy Cristal again. And I don't even know what Cristal is, because I was like 11 years old when this happened. But if I see Cristal in the liquor store, I'm like, nah, Jay-Z told me no. Right? I feel like there's gonna be some for the people who wish to attack the Black community, the Karens that, get in trouble for saying something wild racist, or, disrespect a Black person publicly and stuff like that. They need to be held accountable, and they need to understand why they're doing why it's hurtful that they're saying and doing what they're saying. So if we could come together and get our money right, I'm not saying don't buy the $10K Rolex that Offset had on his wrist, but make sure you got your money right to actually buy that $10K ring. You can't be buying that and just be in the projects, right? And we touch on this theme a lot in the podcast. I just want us as a community to just get our money up. If we each have a service or something, we could do business with each other. The more, the merrier. But at the very least, get our money up, so that way when someone does us wrong, we just outright stop buying that product. Like if Samsung says some racist stuff to Black people, I'm switching to iPhone immediately. All right, straight up.
Welcome to the dark side.
But luckily that hasn't happened yet. So, but things like that, I feel like we if we can do that as a Black community, we'll be in a way better place in the future.
Yeah. Actually, mine is like the actual complete opposite. I think that it comes down to love. When I think that about the Black community and what I see, I think that we love like quoting people like MLK and things like that, but then like take bits and pieces of what we want. And when I see things like love cannot, hate cannot drive out hate, only love can. That's something that I believe and I live by, and I've seen the fruits of that, and I've seen the actual results of that. I think that we should just be loving more towards each other, towards others, and understand and accept each other. And a lot of the stuff that I'm reading now, when they speak about relationships or when they speak about couples that want more out of a relationship, they often say, well, have you tried becoming the husband or the wife or the boyfriend or the girlfriend that you would like to be, right? Or that you would like to have. If you and your wife are having issues, have you tried just loving her more? Because loving is an act, right? So like we all have a choice to make every day of like, how do we love people around us better and accept each other better. So when it comes to being black, we're all in this together, and we need to get white people on our side, not against us. We need to. Rocky mentioned education. When someone makes a racist comment, we need to educate that person on why it is wrong, not put them in a basement and let them still think that racist thing. So when you approach something with a sense of compassion and of love, people understand that they're in the wrong, right? Like if you meet someone that's overtly racist and you're like, well, I still love you as a person, that person's like, okay, maybe I'm the problem, not this other person. So I think that's what we need. That's what we need more of.
I don't know if I can follow that one, but it's your choice.
I'm like 50-50 on that one.
I didn't ask you to.
I'm just making my voice known. That's all,
Yeah.
Carry on, sorry.
I mean, like I said, this is just me when I see solutions, when I see for the future. I think that there's nowhere in history we've ever seen hate being able to work or being able to drive the solution that we're looking for. But that being said, whether you're black, white, purple, blue, I think that we're all in this together, and we got to live out, MLK's message of getting to a place where we can judge people by the content of their character and not by the color of their skin. But let us know about what Black History Month means to you by rating and reviewing. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on social. All the info is in our bio, as you know. But for now, you already know it's time for us to go. This was the Problematic Cookout, and we're signing out. Peace.
Happy
Peace,
Black
y'all.
History Month, y'all. We'll see y'all